Hi, this is Corey Franklin with Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. Tonight we're going to start out with one of our women in science, Dr. Ruth Patrick, who died recently at the age of 105. Dr. Patrick was an amazing woman who, for almost three-quarters of a century, worked at the Academy of Natural Sciences at Drexel University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and her specialty was water ecology, especially freshwater ecology. She studied life forms in fresh water and determined the amount of environmental stress and pollution. Her specialty was studying freshwater diatoms, which are one-celled algae which are at the bottom of the food chain, and she could determine the levels of pollution or the levels of stress in a body of water by the levels of freshwater diatoms. Here she explains an investigation of a body of fresh water that was invaded by salt water, and by looking at the level of diatoms and looking at several other factors, including the pollen produced by the water plants, she concluded that the saltwater invasion was not the result of a tidal wave, but the result of a gradual invasion of brackish salt water.
Surely we found that there were freshwater diatoms in all the various levels of deposits up until just before this change occurred, and then we found evidence that the freshwater species pollen had been wiped out, and the main pollen we found was evidently from brackish water plants. And so we postulated that the reason the plants had been killed off was because of the invasion of salt water. And then the question was it a tidal wave or was it by infiltration? Well, if it had been by a tidal wave, then you would have had an increase in salt and probably chlorides and such, and probably an increase of sand. Well, we didn't find any of this evidence. So we conclude that the reason it had become salt was because of seepage that had come in of salt water rather than a tidal wave.
Dr. Patrick was one of the pioneers of ecology, environmental science, and women in science after World War II, and she won most of the nation's top scientific awards. Here, at the end of her life, she discusses some of the most important ones to her.
This was my election to the National Academy of Sciences when I was relatively young, and on that, about the same time, was my election to membership in the American Philosophical Society, and then this getting the National Medal of Science. I have received many other medals. All of them I value. All of them I feel have a special meaning.
Dr. Ruth Patrick, one of America's great women of science of the 20th century. We're going to move on now to a guy who was hardly a scientist, but in his own right, he was a genius in just the same way. We're going to close tonight with Cal Worthington, who died at the age of 92, the famous Southern California car dealer. Nobody growing up in Los Angeles or Southern California in those days didn't see Cal Worthington on television. He was parodied by Johnny Carson, but in reality he was an embodiment of salesmanship in post-war America. Here's an interview with Cal.
Born in 1920, Cal Worthington is most well known for his Go See Cal commercials and those crazy stunts with all those animals. But more importantly is how he's been able to survive so many years in a business that's known for being really tough. Let's go see Cal.
During the Big Depression, and there was 9 children, poor as we could be. I mean, dirt poor, just unbelievably poor. Really, really hard and tough. I quit school when I was 13 and went to work. Been working ever since. I worked on a road gang as a water boy. I carried water to the workers. I got 15 cents an hour. And boy, it was hard work. We worked 10 hours a day in the blazing heat and sun. I was only 13. 15 cents an hour. Yeah, then I joined the Air Force when the World War started, and I became a pilot. I flew B-17s, the Flying Fortress with the 8th Air Force. Bombed Germany mostly. Had some tremendous battles, unbelievable battles, air battles. I came back in 44. Confident that I could get a job as an airline pilot because I was a very good pilot. I had very high ratings all through the Air Force. I loved the airplanes, loved flying, and, I had every rating in the world. It's a lesson for everybody. I thought I'd have no problem. You had to have a college education. And it didn't matter if you were the best pilot in the entire world. You had to have a college education. That was the only trade I had, the only skill I had. I could be a water boy again, but I'd saved some money and I managed to lease an old gas station there. And I bought the guy's equipment and stuff, at least his old gas station. I had $500. That's all the money I had. Then I borrowed $1,200. I bought this thing. Every once in a while, I'd sell a car for somebody. I just put it there with a for sale sign on it. So funny, I just started selling cars, and one at a time. And I got to where I was selling a lot of cars in Texas. I did very well there. Then in 1950, I came out here and got a Hudson dealership in Huntington Park. Somebody suggested a jingle that was really slow with a big roll of drums and everything. I got to thinking about that. No, I want to speed it up. I want it to be high-powered. So I recorded it myself. I wrote all the lyrics myself and recorded it myself. That's how I came up with that Go See Cal, Go See Cal, Go See Cal. It's been very successful. Some of the little kids just think my name was Go See Cal. And they say, are you Go See Cal? I made a deal. There's 2 circuses that I got animals from. There's private owners here in Southern California that furnish animals for TV. I'd call them. One guy had an anteater. Big old, this funny looking thing, weird looking, and I used that for my dog Spot. If you need a better car, go see Cal. For the best deal by far, go see Cal. If you want a brand new Dodge in your driveway or garage, go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal. If your wife is starting nagging and your tailpipe is a dragon, go see Cal.
The Southern California comedy writer and blogger Ken Levine wrote a nice piece about Cal Worthington. Los Angeles lost another one of its local TV celebrities. Cal Worthington passed away. He was 92. He owned car dealerships in Southern California and advertised constantly on local stations. You couldn't watch an old late-night movie without it being interrupted by a Cal Worthington commercial. In the early days of TV, he did the commercials live. Wearing a big cowboy hat and delivering his spiel in a homespun drawl, Cal implored you to get down to Bellflower or Downey or wherever the hell he was and buy this Ford or Dodge or whatever car he was selling on that channel. 10 minutes later, you'd switch to a different station and he'd be in Southgate or Long Beach selling some other model. And he'd always break it at just the worst time. Bogart gets shot, he's lying in a pool of blood. Cut to Cal, grinning, chuckling, saying, "Howdy, friends." No kid in Los Angeles born in the 50s ever saw Godzilla without Cal Worthington in the middle of it. And yet, even with those intrusions, we loved him. Why? Because he never took himself seriously. There was a competing TV car huckster named Chick Lambert. He always had his dog Storm with him. So Cal introduced his dog Spot, except it was never a dog. It was a tiger or a lion or a monkey or a snake or a member of the Los Angeles Rams. And he had this inane jingle, "Go See Cal." Lyrics included, "I will stand up on my head till my ears are turning red. Go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal." If you lived in Los Angeles for more than 24 hours, you could sing that jingle. As corny and goofy as these techniques were, he sold more cars than anybody. Make no mistake, he was a smart cookie. He understood the value of advertising, showmanship, and sound business practices. He was also a decorated war hero in World War II. Cal was pretty much the last of our local TV pitchmen. All markets had them. They were colorful characters who sold everything from cars to carpeting. They wore outlandish costumes and had various shticks. Of course, back in those days, you had either the 3 networks or a few independent channels. There was no 1,000-channel universe. And how were these non-network stations going to fill 20 hours of programming every day? For the most part, they did it with old movies. You could find John Wayne on at least one station at any given day and time. And sure enough, just when he was about to shoot the bad guy, there would be smiling Cal Worthington riding in on a pig. You don't get that pleasure with Netflix. Cal Worthington was 92, I'm sure marked down from 98. He was an original and reminder of simpler, more innocent times. Rest in peace, Cal. Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer, Sid Tepps. And how can we close with anything tonight but Cal Worthington's jingle?
Here's Cal Worthington and his dog Spot.
If you need a better car, go see Cal. For the best deal by far, go see Cal. If you want your food slow, if you want to save some dough, go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal. Any model, any make, go see Cal. Give your pocketbook a break, go see Cal. Save some money, save some time, save a nickel, save a dime, lower prices every time, go see Cal. Put your lofties on the blink, go see Cal. Maybe later than you think, go see Cal.